That's such a really good question, because as varied as we are as human beings, there's that same varied degree of response to an abortion experience. David Reardon has done a lot of really good research on abortion aftermath, or the abortion aftermath of abortion. Some people call it post-abortion syndrome. Some people call it abortion trauma. Some people call it post-traumatic stress syndrome. I like to refer to it as syndrome with a S-I-N, because the aftermath of an abortion is dealing with the sin of abortion. And that's not an original phrase to me. Someone else has coined it, but I really liked that idea of thinking about, why are we in trauma after an abortion? We're in trauma because we violated God's law. We took the life of a human being. And some people may not consider that, but for me, it was coming to terms with the reality that my selfishness had caused the death of 3 children. And that was a very challenging thing to experience. For me personally, I had nightmares. I had flashbacks. I remember one particular nightmare of having babies' heads dancing, and was very traumatized by that. I was also a very controlling person. I wanted everything in a nice, neat little box because I didn't want to leave anything to chance. I wanted to control everything. I was very controlling with my children, very controlling with my husband. Had to work through a lot of that. Have a lot of self-condemnation about the choices that I had made. You know, what kind of a person are you that you would kill your children? That was a lot of the voice in my head saying, you know, you must not be worth anything. You know, who do you think you are now to try and talk to people about other choices when you did it? But I know now that that voice doesn't come from God, that the voice is my own self-condemnation, and God says in His Word that there is no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus, and that we are not condemned once we confess that sin of abortion. There are many women who have an abortion and say it was the best thing they ever did. And they really honestly say, I don't feel anything about it. I don't have any regrets, remorse, or problems with it. And many women say the only reason they think about it at all is because of those crazy pro-lifers who are out there saying, you must feel guilty about your abortion, which I think is disingenuous in a way, because as women, we are created to nurture and value and to carry life. And in order to have an abortion, we have to jump over so many psychological hurdles that are placed in us naturally to nurture and love life. And it's very interesting, too, that men experience post-abortion trauma or post-abortion difficulty. I know one case of a young man who found out his girlfriend had an abortion, and he committed suicide outside of an abortion clinic the day he found out. You know, he was not allowed to be part of that choice. And I don't know all the circumstances, but, you know, the idea that men experience trauma too, you know, they are part of the equation. And for so many years, we've told men, you don't have a right to say, and even our laws say a man can't stop someone from having an abortion of a child that he is the father of. And I think it's so interesting, because if the woman brings the baby to term, he has to pay child support. So why can't he protect his child when the situation is that the woman doesn't want the child? So our laws are really confusing about the issue. So many women have traumatic responses right away. Many women have no response for many years. Typically, it's about 5 years after an abortion when people start thinking about maybe having a family, or maybe the birth of their first child brings up the remembrances of their abortions. In some cases, when a woman has an abortion, she's traumatized by it because of maybe medical complications from it. In my case, when I actually had my first son, I experienced a lot of hemorrhaging after the birth of my son. I lost about 1,500 cc's of blood, and just like that. And that was as a result of scar tissue inside of my uterus. So I could have easily died on that occasion, and that was a direct consequence of the choice that I made to terminate 3 lives.